Good afternoon, vinyl community. It's Glen Kellaway from the basement. I'm here with a very special guest, Jack Truman from Jack's Stereo Experience.
Everyone.
Hey, Jack, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing great.
That's awesome.
Can't wait to discuss these guys.
Yeah, we're going to discuss the Rolling Stones today. So, if anyone out there doesn't know, Jack and I are related. Jack is my nephew, and we both share a passion for music, which is awesome. And Jack, what kind of maybe talk a little bit about your channel?
Yeah, well, I've been in the VC for close to a year now. I think I started early July of last year, and been doing basically what everyone does in the VC, contest entries and joining threads and just supporting people's channels as much as you can. Started a couple threads of my own. I'm big into the Beatles, and I love Queen and Led Zeppelin, a whole bunch of people, the Stones, of course. And I try to focus on the ones I'm really passionate about. There's a bunch of others. I'm not going to go into that because that'd be a while to list. But just sort of the same as what most people do in the VC. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know it, there, Jack's the one who got me involved in the VC. So he got me interested through Larry Graves, the Canadian stud muffin, our favorites. We love Larry. We are going to talk about the Stones today. So really, I kind of came up with this idea and asked Jack about it. I just thought, because Jack and I, talk about music a lot. We share this passion, and I thought, geez, why aren't we doing a video together? So we're going to try and make this a regular thing. We haven't decided how often, maybe every couple of weeks or something, and we'll come up with a topic. And I'm trying to come up with a name for our series. I come up with All in the Family, but that's not too original. But we'll come up with something cool.
That'll be like the prototype name.
Yeah, I'm going to put the pressure on Jack to come up with something cool. So today we are going to talk about the Rolling Stones from 1968 to 1973, which is Beggars Banquet up to Goat's Head Soup.
Great run.
A classic era, and what a run of albums that is. Jack, when did can I ask you how you kind of got into the Stones?
I had always, I think everyone always kind of knew about the Stones, and how can you not? They're one of the biggest bands ever. But I really only got into them about, I'm going to say 2 years ago, when I was getting into like pretty much all the music I'm into now, for the most part, the Beatles and everything and whatnot. But I specifically got into the Stones. I was having a conversation with one of my friends who is sort of also getting into music around this time. And I was telling him about bands I loved and whatnot. And I was kind of introducing him to some stuff like psychedelic music and progressive music and whatnot. But I was really into the Stones, but he was a big Stones fan already. So he was playing me songs you wouldn't even believe that I had never heard before, like Ruby Tuesday and Mother's Little Helper and all those cool. 66, 67 type Stones songs. Some of the great. So yeah. And then I just kind of eventually started buying their albums for myself. And, I figured you have to go with like Sticky Fingers and Beggars Banquet and all these classic ones that we're going to be discussing today.
What was the first one you bought?
First one I bought was Sticky Fingers.
Okay.
I bought it actually at that the thing in Oshawa that we went to at the start of last year.
Oh yeah, the record show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in the area where Jack lives, there's a record show that used to happen every couple of years, twice a year before the pandemic hit, and hopefully it's going to be up and running again. It's a great show where you can go and pick up a lot of records and stuff. But okay, so we're going to start in 1968 with this baby, Beggars Banquet. Now, I don't know if you're aware, Jack, because you're probably more aware of this cover.
Yeah.
This was the cover that we got when it first came out. This cover was
In North America?
even in England. This was the cover. What
Oh,
happened
really?
was the Stones wanted this cover, and the record company rejected it, saying it was too gross. So we didn't see this cover until they started doing reissues and the CDs were coming out and all that. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I love that cover.
yeah, I like them both. This is classy, though.
It is.
Yeah.
The little RSVP in the corner and everything.
Yeah. So what are your initial thoughts on Beggars Banquet?
Oh, where do you start? I think I don't want to give anything away because we're going to be doing both of our rankings of these 5 albums at the end. I don't want to give anything away in terms of that, but basically, I absolutely love Beggars Banquet. I think it's pretty much perfect from start to finish. And I mean, what do you say? Like you said, I think both covers are fantastic. Yeah, it's got some of the best Stones songs on it ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Jigsaw Puzzle and Dear Doctor. I mean, all of them really. So
yeah. It's very rootsy album. It's they kind of going back to an acoustic-y kind of thing for the most part. Of course, there's Street Fighting Man and songs like that, but most of it is kind of acoustic, almost like a country blues, acoustic blues type stuff and folky stuff. And
because it was their first album after the psychedelic stuff.
It is. That's what I was going to mention too. The album before that was Satanic Majesty's Request, which that gets panned a lot by Stones fans, but I love that album. I'm a big fan of it. But yeah, totally different from that. It was like a total about face. This is really the first album. It's the last album with Brian Jones on it. But Brian, although he was on 2 tracks from Let It Bleed.
Yeah, he kind of fades into the background.
This is kind of when he was starting to like lose it big time, and he was coming to the studio, and they were just using him where they could, and he does some great contributions. He's on every song on this album.
Yeah.
And he does the one major contribution is the slide on No Expectations. Just freaking love that. And what else? Yeah, that's it. I mean, for songs, do you have a favorite song in the album?
Well, the 2 I already mentioned are kind of tied. I sort of go back and forth between Jigsaw Puzzle and Dear Doctor as to which one's my favorite, but I think for the sake of only having one, I kind of go with Jigsaw Puzzle. But seriously, on any given day, if you took those 2 songs off the album, it could be any of them, really. I mean, No Expectations and Parachute. Come on, Prodigal Son.
Prodigal Son is one of my favorites too. Yeah, I mean, if you go through Sympathy for the Devil, is just an incredible song. That when that came out, that was pretty mind. Talk about the Kennedys and all that. It was just a real. It was quite a song, and No Expectations is amazing. Dear Doctor is very cool. Parachute Woman's another great song, and Jigsaw Puzzle's amazing. Then the first side. Street Fighting Man, which was a great hit for them, and Prodigal Son is another one, just a great country blues type song. Stray Cat Blues is awesome. The Factory Girl, amazing, and Salt of the Earth. I'm not sure if they were hanging out with Ry Cooder by this time, or that didn't happen until Let It Bleed, but it's somewhere mixed in between this album and that album, and he was a big influence on. If you listen to any Ry Cooder and you hear the kind of I don't know, traditional, just the rootsy guitar playing that he does, and then mandolins and things like that, you can really start to hear some of his influence on Keith. Like if they hadn't met yet, Keith was definitely listening. I'll guarantee you that.
Oh yeah.
But cool. Yeah, great album. I love the inside jacket. The Feast, the Beggar's Banquet.
Yeah.
Is awesome.
Yeah, I love that. It's cool.
Yeah. Great cover. Great record.
Great title too. Beggar's Banquet. Yes. I love the title.
Yeah, that was a friend of theirs who came up with that title, but I'm not sure what it meant or anything. But yeah, it was an awesome title. Um, After that, we have Let It Bleed.
Oh,
Now, this is the only one of the five I don't have on vinyl.
oh, we got to fix that.
I know I got to fix that. It's on my list. It's coming.
I probably would have gotten you that for Christmas if I had known.
Well, you got me a good one. You got me Zeppelin.
Yeah, that's true.
Presents. Yeah, I needed that one too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah, Let It Bleed. I mean, 1969. I'll put that away later. It's driving me
I
nuts.
mean, what a year for music. It's hard, I mean, and the Stones still have like such a great. They put such a great one out there against all those other great albums that were coming out that year.
Yeah, incredible. They were really. This is when Brian Jones got fired during these sessions. Yeah. They finally had enough of him, and he's on 2 tracks though, but very in the background. He plays auto harp on "You've Got the Silver," which is the first song that Keith Richards ever sang a lead vocal on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he plays.
I love that song.
Brian Jones plays percussion instruments on Midnight Rambler. They're the only 2 songs that he's actually on.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, that's cool.
And they had hired Mick Taylor, but had done most of the sessions for this, and Mick Taylor played on kind of just backing tracks on 2 songs as well. So he just played probably like a rhythm guitar or something on Live With Me and Country Honk. So other than that, it's Mick and Keith and Charlie and Bill Wyman and Bobby Keys and Ian Stewart and Nicky Hopkins and all kind of the regular cast of characters that played on Stones albums.
Yep.
It's, yeah, amazing album.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Let It Bleed. This is definitely when they were hanging out with Ry Cooder, and he actually plays on this album. He plays mandolin on this album. And yeah, just again, what are your favorite tracks off of this?
Oh, my favorite tracks. I mean, I love everything once again, really, but my favorite tracks are all kind of in the middle at the latter part of the first side and the start of the second side with Let It Bleed and then Midnight Rambler, and then you got the Silver and Monkey Man.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing's just fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Let It Bleed, I love, is a great song. Love and Vain, the cover of the Robert Johnson song is a great version
fantastic.
of that. Midnight Rambler is just a classic Stone song. Gimme Shelter is probably one of, I bet you that's a top 5 song on everybody's Stones list, Gimme Shelter. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Top 10 for sure.
It's actually of the 3, because that the first of the 3 of the trilogy, they all kind of open with their big hit, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so of those 3 big hit songs, Gimme Shelter is actually my favorite of the 3.
Yeah, you're right. They're really strong. Well, those albums are really strong opening songs. You can't always get what you want. Now the single that You Can't Always Get What You Want, it didn't have the Bach choir at the start of it.
Oh.
So when you got the album, listen to the single first, and then you heard it, and then all of a sudden you got the album, and you hear this choir come in and start the song. It's very cool.
I've never heard the single. To be honest, that I would probably like the single better than, to be honest.
Yeah, you should check it out. You could probably just listen to it on YouTube or something, but yeah, definitely. It didn't have the choir. If there's once Country Honk, I love too. I'm a big Honky Tonk Woman fan. I think it's one of their greatest songs. But I really like Country Honk. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people say that's the weakest song in the album, but it's one of my favorites.
I would say probably You Can't Always Get What You Want is my least favorite, although I still love it. But
really?
Country Honk is fantastic. I mean, with all the like car noises and everything in there.
Yeah.
Great.
That's kind of neat. My least favorite is probably Monkey Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's not. Don't get me wrong. It's a good song.
Oh, won't get you wrong.
But if I had to say, what do I think the weakest songs on the album? I would say "Live With Me" and "Monkey Man" are my 2.
Okay, all right.
But the whole album's great. It's classic. Now we're moving on to Sticky Fingers, the first album that you ever bought by the Stones.
Yeah. And the first that fully had Mick Taylor.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And what a debut from Mr. Taylor. I mean, come on. Now this is the Andy Warhol designed this cover.
Yeah.
This is actually an original cover. The zipper's broken, like all the zippers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even get it to open or close, I don't think. But there is a real zipper there.
Yeah.
Now they stopped making it. There it goes. It kind of goes up. The little clip on the top of the zipper is kind of busted. But if they stopped making this cover because they said it was damaging the vinyl, so it was scratching the records.
Oh.
That's when they came out with just the flat picture of those. Yeah. And
Well, talking about the cover, I'll say
came out on Rolling Stone Records too.
Yeah.
Right. This is
just had its 50th anniversary too.
I have an original cover, but I don't have the original vinyl. This is the reissue, so but the Rolling Stones label is on there. Yeah, this album is incredible. And again, like you said, the first track, Brown Sugar, it's just, man, unbelievable.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've said before, I've commented somewhere before in the VC that the way I would tell people how much I love this album is that my least favorite track on this album is actually Brown Sugar. And that's just how much I love the album.
Now you couldn't record and release a song like Brown Sugar in 2021.
No.
It would be the most offensive song. The record companies probably wouldn't even allow it. But it works, and it's a classic song.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, I mean, Brown Sugar, Sway is a great song. I've got a version of Sway by this guy. There's a singer-songwriter. He started as a punk rocker. He lives in Austin, Texas. His name's Alejandro Escovedo. And he has a live album where he does a version of a cover of Sway. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. So good. If I can find it on YouTube, I'll flip it over to you. Definitely.
They're setting them up for success. Such a great song.
Oh, amazing. I couldn't tell the words of the songs when the Stones were singing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just that evil life has got you in its way. I didn't know. I never knew what that said until I heard Alejandro's version. I didn't know. I thought just Mick mumbling to me. I couldn't get it. And Wild Horses, incredible song.
Oh, just fantastic. I mean,
Mick wrote for Marianne Faithfull. Can't You Hear Me Knocking is the standout track on the album to me.
Me too.
Oh, Mick Taylor's playing on that is incredible.
Yeah, everything. I mean, they started off with that great with Mick singing and the lyrics and everything, and then they go into the main part of the song, which is just the instrumental part. And it's just, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
The sax and the guitar.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. You Gotta Move, another Robert Johnson song. Excellent song.
Fantastic.
Side 2. Okay, so my weakest song in the album starts off side 2. Bitch.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
I like Bitch. Again, don't get me wrong. It's a good song, but to me, it's the weakest song. And then we've got what?
I Got the Blues.
I've Got the Blues. Yeah. And then my second favorite, well, I shouldn't say Can't You Hear Me Knocking is my favorite song in the album, because my favorite Stone song of all time is on side 2. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sister Morphine, which I absolutely love. Again, the slide guitar in that song when it comes in just is like, it makes the hairs on my arms stand up.
Yeah.
And Dead Flowers is a fun song. That's a great song.
Oh,
great country rock song.
Fantastic.
And then my favorite Stone song of all time, Moonlight Mile. That song just does it for me.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you have a favorite or?
Well, you know what? I actually shouldn't say that Can't You Hear Me Knocking is my favorite either, because I'd say my favorite is actually Wild Horses. But
Oh, cool.
Can't You Hear Me Knocking is my second favorite. But I could not overall rank all the tracks on this album because they're all perfect to me, really.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did you ever see the movie Give Me Shelter?
No.
Oh, you got to see that. So it's the documentary of their tour in 1969, and halfway through they showed them going to Alabama and recording. They did 3 tracks at Muscle Shoals in Alabama. They did Wild Horses, You Gotta Move, and Brown Sugar were recorded in the U.S. in Alabama. They show that in the movie, and then they also show the tragedy at Altamont, when that's kind of the end of the movie, when they play at Altamont and the guy gets murdered by the Hells Angels and all that. That's if you haven't seen, you got to find that movie. You got to see it. Yeah, and it's right around the Sticky Fingers time.
Yeah.
The album didn't come out till 71. They were working on a lot of these songs in that tour in 69.
Well, one more thing I'll say about Sticky Fingers before we move on to Exile is I often will say that it's one of the greatest albums of all time that has, in my opinion, I know probably so many people will not agree with this, but I'm just giving out my opinion here, is that it's one of the greatest albums of all time with one of the worst album covers of all time. That's just my opinion.
Oh, you don't like this? You don't like the zipper cover?
No. Well, the zipper or no zipper, I just don't like Andy Warhol's work, to be honest. He doesn't have my kind of art style. But
yeah, Andy Warhol was a weird dude for sure. I don't know if that he would have made it in any other decade but the 60s.
Yeah, and he did the cover for Velvet Underground's debut too.
Yeah, he was really wrapped up with Velvet Underground. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, the cover, I don't know. I can understand people saying, it's not a good cover, but it was just unique at the time. I think that's
for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely recognize that, but just looking at it for me now, it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't rank it. I wouldn't rank it as a great album cover in terms of just the aesthetics of it. I'm looking at really it's nothing.
I mean, Let It Bleed had such a great cover.
Yes.
The layers of the cake and all the stuff on the record and everything.
Yes. Okay, we're moving on to I shouldn't even say that we're ranking. I'm not going to say anything.
I think haven't you said it before though on the
probably
VP?
a million times.
Yeah.
Exile on Main Street. Now this album just means so much to me for a number of reasons. This is actually an original vinyl from 1972.
Yep.
Which has the original sleeves. And also came with a whole bunch of postcards. Maybe next time you're over, I'll give you one of the postcards. I think they come apart. Who would even know if there was one missing? Yeah, so Exile, what are you thinking? Tell me.
My big thought with Exile is it kind of blows my mind. Okay, I shouldn't kind of give anything away, but you know what? Because everyone knows kind of what you think about Exile and where it's going to rank. I'll just kind of say that it blows my mind that Exile isn't my favorite Stones album. I mean, it's once again all of these albums. It really is just perfect from start to finish.
That's
that first side of music just alone is one of the great sides that I've ever listened to so far.
Yes.
So it's just fantastic.
Well, my second favorite Stones song of all time is on the first side, Tumbling Dice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great. So this album came out in May 1972. And the first time I saw the Stones live was July 1972. So they played a ton of these songs. It was their new record at the time. So it was kind of the Exile on Main Street tour.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest live concert I've ever been to. And just that whole period, when this album came out, and seeing them that summer, and then this album just means so much to me. It's unbelievable. And
Yeah. Well, I envy you. I envy you going to that concert.
oh, all I remember, it was so friggin' hot. It was like 100 degrees at Maple Leaf Gardens. And I remember walking out in the concourse where all, before you got to your seats, and it was so sweaty and everything there. The floors were slippery from sweat. It was like, yeah, you're walking on ice. So you didn't fall. But what a show. Amazing. Stones at their best. They rocked hard on this album. It's just like, and they were going through a lot of problems when they were recording this too. They were in exile in France.
Yeah.
Tax exile, and there was a lot of drug. Like, I think Keith was pretty ripped most of the time, and the sessions were all, you never knew when the session was going to start and who was going to show up, and
Crazy.
It was a crazy time. And yeah, the album starts off "Rocks Off," which is a killer track. I think.
Rocking. It's rocking.
Rip This Joint is just, I don't know what it is. Just the perfect rock and roll song. It's freaking awesome. The Hip Shake's great. Casino Boogie, and Tumbling Dice. What a side. And then Sweet Virginia.
Sweet Virginia.
Torn and Frayed, Black Angel, and Loving Cup. Then side 3, one of Keith Richards, I guess one of the most popular songs of his is Happy.
Yep.
Third on the Run, Ventilator Blues is great. Just Want to See His Face. Let It Loose is a favorite. Side 4, All Down the Line, which again is another freaking fantastic rockin' song for the Stones. They always play it live. Stop Breaking Down, I believe, is another Robert Johnson song. And Shine a Light, and then Soul Survivor. So yeah, side
Great
one is my favorite side. But yeah, I can't say enough about this album. It just does it for me. It's it's, and like, I'm surprised it's not your favorite too.
Yeah. Oh, like it's more a good thing that it's so good, and yet there's even better for me. It's just so much joy.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now the last of the 5 albums from 1973. Now, see, I think this cover sucks.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I just I don't like it at all. Just Mick on the front, Keith on the back, and the other 3 guys in the middle. It's just kind of,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm
sure Mick hates it too.
What's that?
I'm sure Mick hates it too, because then every time someone wants a goat's head soup, he has to die.
Well, you can get where's the soup? I thought it was in here somewhere. I got it. There it is there.
Yeah, the real.
Bowl.
Yeah.
You can have it. There's the inserts from the album. If you hadn't seen it before, there's Billy Preston in there, and some of the guys who played on it. And yeah.
And your unboxing of the box set is one of your most popular videos.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I know. Well, it's like over 1,000, like 2,000 people have seen it or something. And I'm lucky if 2 people watch.
That's my vote.
You watched it. You watched my videos twice.
Yeah.
That's my audience.
Sorry, I had to take that away from you.
What are your thoughts on this?
Same as what I say every time. It's seriously perfect. I actually love the cover. But once again, I get it. I just love the color scheme of it with the brown and orange and everything.
Yeah.
But I can see not liking it. It's not like the best album cover ever, certainly.
I think I would have liked it better if all 5 faces were on here.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
I think that would have been better. I don't. That's why I don't like it. I think because it's just Mick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with Mick. I love him, but I just think it would have been better with the band on there.
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah. I don't know. Musically, do you have favorite tracks or?
My favorite is Angie.
Ah, interesting.
I love Angie. Um, the whole thing. I mean, Silver Train, 100 years ago. It, Star Star, the whole thing. Really, I don't want to name specific tracks because it's just all so good to me. But
Yeah, they recorded this album all over the place too. I think some in Jamaica. They were in Jamaica doing this, and the UK, and in the States. And interestingly enough, I learned this from Jeff at Calico Silver when he did his Stones review on Tattoo You. And I didn't realize Tattoo to You was made up of outtakes from previous albums.
yeah,
Because Tattoo You is such a strong album. I don't know if you have that one, but it's something.
no, I haven't heard it yet.
Freaking great album. And two songs that were outtakes from this album end up on Tattoo You, which are Top and Tops, and a song called Waiting for a Friend, which is one of my favorite Stone songs. So they had a few strong songs, and when I hear this album, there's songs on here I'm, I don't know. There's some songs on here I'm not a huge fan of. I'm trying to see. I've got myself in the dark here. So
Oh yeah,
Winter's great. Star Star I love. Silver Train's great. That was an outtake from like 1969 or something that they put on this album.
yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about that, but it does kind of make sense. It has that sort of sound to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and yeah, well, we're gonna rank, so I'll save my comments for the ranking. But I don't know, like, is there another band that did? I was watching Mazzy the other day. Norman Maslov did a video on his trip to San Francisco. I don't know if you watched it.
Yep.
He was in Amoeba Records and he came by the box set for thing like that you mentioned that I did an unboxing of, and I'm a big fan of. And Mazzy slammed it. He's not a fan of this album, and he said, "I'm not going to waste my money on a box set for a crappy album." But this is a great box set as far as I'm concerned, because the outtake album is great. The songs that from the sessions are fantastic, and also the live album Brussels Affair, which is the Stones at the top of their game in 71, 72. So
Yeah. No, you can't beat that, really.
you can't. Yeah. So cool. Yeah, but I think I'm trying to think of another band that did 5 albums. Even if you don't like Go Ted Soup and just said 4 albums, like name another band that did 4 albums in a row that are maybe the Beatles. I don't know if there's anybody
Yeah,
else.
well, you have to name the Beatles.
Yeah, I mean, but what you do Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sergeant Pepper, and what next? Like the next album, is it as strong as those 3? So then you'd have to go to Help, Rubber
Yeah.
Soul.
I think Help's better than Magical Mystery Tour personally. So
Yeah, but I don't think even the Beatles matched.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Much as we're Beatles freaks, those 4 albums to me, because Go Ted Soup will include say 5 because we're doing this video on the 5. But yeah, name another
Yeah.
band challenge me that put out product that's strong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't heard the album, but you could probably, I don't know what your thoughts on it are, but you could probably even go to like It's Only Rock and Roll after and still have
It's Only a Rock and Roll I love more than Go Ted Soup.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, much more actually.
So you could probably just keep going with it, really, with the
run. Well, I could, because I really like, but critically they started to get slammed a little bit, and I'm a big fan of Black and Blue and Some Girls and albums like that too. So I think great. There's some just great songs on there. Maybe they're not. Maybe like Black and Blue doesn't. The whole album isn't as strong, but there's a couple of songs on there that are just 2 great Stone songs. So they make the album fantastic. But yeah, you could continue. They were right up until Tattoo You, I think, before they kind of started to show a little like they were getting bored or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not doing the Rooster anymore.
Let's rank.
All right.
So why don't we just say what your lowest rank? I'm going to say least favorite because we all love all these albums. So why don't we just say which one are you ranking at the lowest, and I'll say mine, and then we'll see how it goes if we drive on
Okay.
you.
All right.
So your
So,
number five is
my number 5 is Goat's Head Soup. I mean, we already covered. I think it's fantastic from start to finish. I think even though it is fantastic, in my opinion, it certainly does have some of the weaker songs in comparison to the other 4 albums. So it's not quite as strong, but still, I mean, a great part of the run. And yeah, it's my number 5.
it's my number 5 too. It's the weakest of those albums. There are some great songs, but like the songs that just don't really excite me as much, like Dancing for Mr. D. It's a fine song, but they just don't,
Yeah, it's a little repetitious, actually.
Yeah, and yeah, there's some weaker tracks on this album compared to the other 4. So I'm going to agree. So we're good. We're driving so far.
Okay. All right. Number 4 for me is and this is really because number 5 was sort of an easy pick because it's great, but it's, I think, pretty agreeably the weakest of the 5. But this is where it gets hard because even what is my favorite really could be at number 4 and I'd have no complaints.
Yeah, there's so little difference between the quality
Yeah.
of the 4 albums. I agree.
Yeah. So this was such a hard thing and it could change from day to day. But for number 4 right now, I'm going to go with Let It Bleed.
This is funny.
Yeah.
But like you say, like if someone said you can only have one Stones album, they threw Let It Be at you, you wouldn't Let It Bleed, you wouldn't complain.
Oh,
Okay, this is weird. Okay, number 3.
all right. So we've been similar so far, but I know there's going to be some difference now. But I mean, it's just what I said last time. It's perfect and everything. But for me, number 3 is Exile on Main Street. Just,
Okay,
I mean,
we're going to stop recording now. This video's over.
yeah.
Forget
Virtual
this
punch.
series. It isn't happening. This was just a bad mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, no, go ahead. No.
Yeah, the group's breaking up. We can't do this anymore. Yeah. It's, I think it's just perfect, but I guess I just love the other 2 a bit more. But like I said, on any given day, in fact, Exile is probably the one I listen to the most nowadays, which is funny, but it's still number 3 for me because the other 2 are also just perfect. So, yeah.
Okay, well, my number 3, Sticky Fingers. Killer album. What can you say?
Yeah,
One of the
perfect.
greatest
Really.
albums of all time, but not as great as the 2 coming up, in my opinion.
Yep.
Okay, so I think I know what your number 2 is.
Okay, well, my number 2 is the one you just showed, Sticky Fingers.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say that was number 1.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we already went over it. Perfect. There's not a song on there that I don't think is 10 out of 10 material. It's, I mean, like I said, Brown Sugar is my least favorite, so that should just tell you how much I love the album. It's just perfect from start to finish, and but I guess just not quite as loved by me maybe as my number 1.
Wow. Yeah, so, well, my number 2, Beggars Banquet. One of my favorite albums of all time. But it's got to take a back seat to the next one.
Yep.
And your number 1, drum roll.
My number 1 is Beggar's Banquet.
Oh.
It's the funny thing is, I don't think it's even though it really is a perfect album, it's not maybe quite as perfect as like Sticky Fingers, if that makes any sense. And the reason I say that is because my least favorite song on Beggar's Banquet, which I didn't really say when we were talking about it, but my least favorite is Salt of the Earth.
Oh, I
And
love that
so
song.
yeah, no, I still love it, but
Yeah.
just because you have to have a least favorite sort of thing.
Yeah. Mhm.
I like every song on Sticky Fingers more than it. So in that sense, I find it to be ever so slightly less perfect than Sticky Fingers.
Yeah.
But still, overall, everything else is just, once again, 10 out of 10. Couldn't really get any better of an album. So it's my number one, and I don't see it changing. But yeah, it's fantastic.
It is. Yeah, I can't argue with you. Well, my number one, which we all know, Exile on Main Street. Like I said, it just the time it came out and seeing the Stones that summer, playing these songs live, and this album just from the first minute I put it on and heard Rocks Off and heard how rocking this album was, and then Rip This Joint and Tumbling Dice, and there's just too many freaking amazing songs on this album. The Stones just rocking out.
Yeah.
Abbey, just a great album.
You know, we didn't even talk. I mean, the music. We didn't even mention how great that album cover is.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal album cover. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you can stare at this all day.
Yeah,
it's very weird. All the freaks. Yeah, you know, freak shows were like in the '60s. I don't know how far they go back, but when I was growing up in the '60s, little kid, and you'd go to the exhibition. The freak show was a big thing, right? Everybody went to the freak show, and there was the human hat pin cushion. He'd stick these 4-inch pins through his cheeks. And there was the half man, half monkey guy, and
Monkey Man.
Dainty Dora, the fat lady. She was like 700 pounds or something. And it was just all. I mean, freak shows were a big deal. I'm so sad that the way they abused these poor people.
Yeah, that is actually, yeah.
Yeah, but that cover just kind of hey, I mean, the Stones were freaks at this time, kind of, especially in their own country. They had yeah. So hey, this was fun.
Oh yeah, this was great. I mean, a great first installment in this series.
Yeah, so we'll come up with another one. We can chat about anything. So yeah. Thanks so much, Jack.
Yeah, hey, you too. This was great.
Okay, I'm going to, so everyone, thanks. We'll let you know when we're going to film a second one. Hopefully every couple of weeks we'll do this. And we'll upload them on Sundays, and then that'll be pretty cool. So thanks again, Jack, for doing this. Thank you for watching, everyone. And hang on, Jack. I'm going to push stop recording, but you can hang on.